What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube. And today I've got another Scream video, Scream 6. As I record and post this today, Scream 6, the official release is just 3 days away. The early premiere is just 2 days away. I'm seeing it in 2 days, and I cannot wait for Scream 6. You guys gave an overwhelmingly positive response to my killer pitches video. I did a 5 pitches for possible killers and connections as to why. As the last video posted on my channel, so go back and check that out. It's done very, very well by my usual numbers, so I'm very proud of that. And I wanted to reward you guys, Scream fans, with one more video before I go and watch and review the movie on Thursday night or Friday morning. So I wanted to bring you guys kind of a dual video here. It's a two-purpose video. I've already done these Scream movie rankings before 5 came out, so I wanted to kind of reincorporate my new rankings with 5 involved now as well. And I wanted to do a, in ascending order, I wanted to rank all of the killers in all of the Scream movies. Now, I'm doing a dual video because the movie rankings are very, very simple, right? So, automatically, I can say definitively that number 5 is my 5th favorite. It is definitely my least favorite of the Scream movies. So, it kind of keeps the list the same. Everything is the same as before, except we have the one new movie now that's on the list. So 5 is Scream 5. 4 is Scream 3, which I don't dislike as much as a lot of you guys do. I'm still a Scream 5 fan, Scream 3 fan. I tend to enjoy all these movies. I like the acting. I like the meta aspects of it. I like the nostalgia of it. I love whodunits. These movies just sort of suit me in general. So even the bad ones, I still kind of like. So none of these, I think, are bad movies. Even 5, which I think is by far the weakest, mostly because of who the killers were and what the motivations were. I just thought it was kind of too carbon copy. It was too much like a watered-down version of 4. It wasn't fleshed out enough compared to what we had just seen with Wes's kind of reboot and kind of bringing it back. So it just was a bit weaker to me as far as 5 goes. So yes, overall, while I didn't think 5 was a bad movie, and I did enjoy it more upon second viewing now that I own it on DVD, it is still the weakest of the franchise. 3 is the weakest of the original 3. I don't dislike it as much as others do. 3 is kind of the most disliked one up until the newest one so far in the canon. But I quite enjoyed 3. I kind of like the stab characters and all that, and the big reveal of the killer and the wraparound and everything. I liked it. So, but that's my number 4 out of the series. Number 3 is Scream 2. This is another point of contention, 2 versus 4. I think 2 is a great sequel. I love it for the 90s. It was very well done. The story was great. The killer reveal was great. But number 2, I think 4 was just better. I think 4 was the perfect 2010s version of what they did in 96 for the original. It was the perfect update. It was so in tune with society. It was such a realistic, honest portrayal. The dialogue felt real. The reasoning felt real. The old characters met with the new characters and both had charisma. It was just really, really well done. So I would say 5, then 3, then 2, then 4, and my favorite, obviously, is the original. So same list as before, just with number 5 as the 5th best in the franchise, but again, that's not saying that I didn't like 5, it's just not as strong as the other 4 for me. But the killers, I've never talked about the killer reveals and kind of ranking them. So obviously, I'm revealing all the killers in the previous 5 Scream movies, so this will be spoilers. If you have not seen one of these movies, it's going to be a spoiler. I'm going to go from 9 to 1. There have been 9 killers so far in the course of the last 5 Scream movies, and I'm going to rank them and kind of briefly tell you why I'm ranking them where they are. Now, you're going to see a common trend here early on in the list. Number 9, we're going from bottom to top. Number 9 is Amber from Scream 5. The sidekicks on this list are going to be much lower than the main killers. There's usually a formula when there's 2 killers in all except one of the movies. There's one main dominant killer who's kind of one of the main characters who has the big reason for turning, and they have a sidekick accomplice who they usually just kind of manipulate and coax into being a sidekick to try and frame them for it, you know, or try and manipulate them into kind of doing the dirty work for them. So there's always a sidekick killer that's kind of just thrown in there as extra fodder, right? Amber was that for Scream 5. I don't really even know why she was a killer. The Scream 5 killer reveals, again, is what killed the movie for me in general. I think 5 is a well-written, fun movie until you get to the ending and you get, oh, these people were the killers? That's kind of out of nowhere. And then the reasoning is kind of like, oh, you're just doing kind of a lesser version of what 4 tried to do and did a much better job. So Amber, to me, was just kind of there. She didn't have much substance. aside from the fact that she had some like craziness at the end and ran around like a headless chicken, I don't really understand her reasoning for being there or her connection to any of the characters, really. So, not a big fan of the Amber reveal in 5. Number 8 is Charlie from Scream 4. He is the background killer for the main killer in Scream 4. It's kind of the same thing. He's the sidekick. He likes the girl. He wants to hook up with her. He's kind of the new age version of Randy. He wants to hook up with the girl, so he gets manipulated and then killed and tries to get framed. So it's just kind of a rehash and a much lesser version of 1. And again, Charlie's not a bad character. I think that's Macaulay Culkin's brother, I think, is the killer. Good actor. He did a good job. I like his reasoning at least makes more sense to me than Amber's. And as a character, he didn't do a bad job as an actor. He's more believable, I think, than Amber was. But again, he's another guy that's just there. He was there to be manipulated and framed by the main killer. So he didn't have much resonance aside from being duped to be the killer. So he's my number 8. Number 7, we're onward and upward a little bit. The first main killer, Richie from Scream 5. Again, I didn't like the Scream 5 reveals. The whole reasoning was just, I'm a super fan of the movies, and I pretend I haven't seen them. And at the end of the day, I just want to meet Sydney and be the one to kill her because it's an honor, because I love all the movies, and I'm tired of fans giving us backlash for all these sequels and reboots. We want to do something original and fresh. So it's just kind of another updated version of part of what they were going for in 4, and it feels like it's kind of forced a little bit. The dialogue feels a little forced. It feels too kind of societal in your face. And while it's not a bad rationale, and again, I do like it better upon second viewing, I just don't think the killers are that strong. And they make obvious references early on to Richie watching the movies for the first time to try to figure them out. So you kind of get that. You kind of figure it out kind of early. And I just didn't love the character. It's another boyfriend killer. Oh, surprise, boyfriend winds up being crazy. We've seen that before in Billy. Billy was in this movie. So, I don't think Richie was the strongest killer. He's the weakest main killer for me out of the entire series. Now, these final 6, I like all 6 of these guys. This starts the good part of my list, the ones that I really enjoy. And there's going to be a couple divisive ones here. But 6 up, I really enjoyed. The acting, the chemistry, and all that. Number 6 is Mickey from Scream 2. He is the sidekick for Scream 2, obviously. He's Billy's mother's sidekick, who she just finds him on a crazy message board and manipulates him because she wants to get revenge for her son being killed in the first one. So she's the main killer. He's just there to get manipulated and framed. He was the first kind of sidekick killer that was just a pawn, even more so than Stu or many of the other ones. He was just a pawn for Mrs. Loomis. But Mickey, though, had a lot of charisma. He was funny in the movie. He wasn't just a throwaway guy. He had some good lines. And when he was crazy in the end, he had a pretty good turn. You kind of believed the crazy and the monologues at the end about the movies and all that. He's one of the OGs as far as delivering the, don't blame the movies and all stuff like that. So I like his rationale, but he is just the second killer, the background killer. So as much as I like his acting and I thought his charisma with Mrs. Loomis was good and I liked his turn, he's the second guy. So no big deal there. Now, here's where I'm going to lose my credibility with Scream fans. Hold on, you guys. Hold on. Number 5. We're in the top 5 now. My number 5 killer reveal in the Scream series is Stu. Now, hold on. This is the OG Scream 1. It's Stu. Don't turn the video off yet. Let me explain. I know Stu's got a fan base unlike any other killer in this franchise, and this is not a slight at Stu. I love Matthew Lillard. I love the comedy meets crazy. He is the best balance of any comedic / serious killer in the franchise. He does the balance of horror comedy the best of any of them. I love Matthew Lillard and I love the Stu character. And I understand to an extent why the fans still want to see him come back in spite of the fact that he got a freaking TV dropped on his head. But I think some of the constant clamoring for Stu is what makes me kind of put him here on the list. But my reasoning is, again, he's just the second guy. He's just I've watched a lot of movies and my brain is screwed up now. His rationale is not that strong. He's a number 2 guy. He is the dutiful, goofy sidekick that Billy manipulates because Billy's got the real reason. Billy's got the family ties. Billy's father was pushed out of his home or was hooking up with Sydney's mother, which pushed their mother out of his home. So he's got family ties and a real reason to be crazy and to be there and to snap. And he was a legitimate, surprise reveal. Stu is a great sidekick. Stu, again, has the charisma unlike anybody else in the series, but he's just there because he's crazy and he's Billy's sidekick because Billy needed somebody else to help with the killings. So based on the reason why he's there and his rationale behind what he doesn't have as much of an impact as some of the other number one killers. He's the best number two killer, but he's the number two guy. So I've got to put him below the four main killer reveals on my list. And again, that's not a slight at Stu. I love the guy. But number four, now the last four obviously are all number one main killers. Number four is Mrs. Loomis from Scream 2. I love the Psycho mother tropes. All the way back to Psycho in 60, to Jason Voorhees with Betsy Palmer in Friday the 13th Part 1, to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, matriarch of the family. I love the crazy mother trope, and Mrs. Loomis does it so well. Debbie Salt, played by Aunt Jackie and Roseanne, is really just a background character who you barely see. You get glimpses of her trying to be the new Gale in Scream 2, and then all of a sudden you get this reveal that Debbie Salt is actually Mrs. Loomis trying to avenge her son's death. It's not just some overarching plan. She is reacting to her son being killed. So then you have Sidney talking about, well, you weren't around for your son. You left, and you're the reason why this happened. And Billy's crazy because you weren't around. And she winds up being crazy, but also empathetic in some ways because she is taking vengeance for her little boy, whether he's crazy or not. Whether he's in the wrong or not, the mother is looking after the son. So you can empathize with more of the Loomis family and kind of figuring out why they are the way they are. And you can rationalize with Sidney having to deal with this again, but also you understand to an extent why Mrs. Loomis, although being crazy and going too far, is doing this for her son. So you have that duality there, which is very nice. Top three now. These are all super elite killers. Jill from Scream 4. Again, I love Scream 4. That is the overarching theme of this video, is that Scream 4 is the most underrated of the franchise, and boy does it hold up so well, especially in comparison to 5. I think Emma Roberts was really good in this role. Sidney's cousin. Sidney comes back to town in like 2010 or 2012, whenever the newest of 4 came out. Sidney comes back to town, having to kind of do this all over again as the start of a new trilogy is what it was going to be before Wes passed away, and then 4 didn't do very well in the box office. I saw it in theaters 4 times with different friends because I loved it. I thought it was a great update. The dialogue was great. The characters were great. I think Jill made an excellent killer. She modernized the whole franchise. The writing of her modernized the whole franchise in that she was doing this all for fame. She was the new kind of TikTok before TikTok. She was the YouTuber. She was trying to get famous based on kills. She was getting people to empathize with her and make them think she was the survivor, and actually she was the killer and filming all this gruesome stuff. She was doing it for clicks and fame and hits, and that is the voice of that time of the generation. It is a much better, more succinct, understandable, well-acted version of what they tried to do in 5, just being fans. So I really enjoyed the fact that Jill was going to capitalize on Sidney's survivor mentality and kind of become the new survivor while killing her, getting that fame, getting those clicks that she wanted. And then the way the movie ended is they were going to bring her back for 5 when Wes was still alive, and they were going to do the original trilogy again, was that Jill was the killer, but somehow survived, and people thought, based on her videos, that she was a survivor. So there would have been a nice Saw 4 bit of duality in that, but I really enjoyed Emma Roberts, and I hope we see her back again before the end of this series. Go back to my pitches video, and you'll figure out what I would do with her. Now the final 2. This is going to be divisive as well, because number 2 is from Scream 3, Roman Bridger, director, brother. I love how this trilogy wrapped up. And again, this is me thinking Scream 3 is better than most of you guys think it is, I think. But Roman, being the only sole killer in the entire series, the only one killer reveal at the end of Scream, and that's because this was the end of the trilogy, this was the end of the franchise for all intents and purposes, and Roman had this whole elaborate backstory. Being the director of the Stab series, converting over to being the overarching director of this series in the metaverse here, he's directing all of this from the beginning. He's directing Billy. He's, he has Sidney's half-brother from Sidney's mom. He uses Sidney's mom cheating with Billy's father to start Billy in this whole thing. So he kickstarts and prequels the entire thing, leading to a brother-sister showdown based around Sidney's mother, which kicks off the events of the first film. I love how they tie it up. I love Roman and Sidney's chemistry. I love the back and forth false finishes where you don't know which one is dead. They had a really good final fight. I like Roman a lot more than most do, and I think he was a really good actor, and I think the way they tied this up in a nice little bow was the perfect ending for the original series. Number one is no surprise. Number one is from number one, Billy Loomis, the original OG, which came back in 5 in flashback form, or whatever the heck it was, holographic form, whatever they're doing these days. Billy Loomis was such a great reveal. I did not call it in the original because he was suspected and then he was cleared. So once you're a suspect and once you're cleared, you think they're going to be over it. But they used that as a bait and switch to make you think he was cleared and then he was the killer. The most intense, one of the best acted, doing the whole like love scene to set up that she's not a virgin anymore, and then you get the whole monologues back and forth in the kitchen where you get the goofy Stu and the serious, intense Billy, and Billy gets more and more crazy as time goes on. Stu gets more silly and Billy gets more serious. That dichotomy is a nice balance for this final reveal when the three of these characters go back and forth. It's really, really good. Billy's got some great lines, that sarcasm, that anger, those level changes that he does, where he's sarcastic but also angry. Excellently done. It's just such a great actor, such a great reveal that really got me in 1996, and it still holds up today because we're still seeing now Billy's daughter in the new movies. So the OG usually takes the crown, just like Scream 1 is the best Scream movie of the franchise. Billy is the best killer in the Scream franchise. So I think you guys might have some debates with Roman being so high and Stu being so low. But tell me in the comments below what you guys think. What are your movie rankings? And especially for this video, what are your killer rankings? Give me your 9 to 1 or 1 to 9, whatever you want to do. Rank the Scream killers and tell me where your list differs from mine. I want to hear you guys in the comments. Let's talk about the reveals because we have another 1 or 2 or however many reveals coming on Thursday or Friday when we watch this movie. So I'm going to go watch it Thursday night. I'm either going to bring you guys the review and post it Thursday night or Friday morning, depending on when the video goes up. But that's coming. So if you want to see my Scream pitches, go back and check out my last video. If you want to see my Scream 6 or Scream 5, what are we on? Scream 6? If you want to see my Scream 6 video, come back Thursday or Friday, but tell me in the comments what you think of this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and please enjoy the movie. And again, no spoilers, please. If you guys have spoilers, don't be that person. Don't spoil it on this video. But tell me what you think of the previous killers, and I will talk to you guys soon. Stay scared and enjoy the new movie.